Hi there and welcome back to the channel Trust in Rock with me, Vanessa Warwick. And we're going to take a few moments now to pay tribute to original Iron Maiden vocalist Paul Di'Anno, who sadly passed away a few weeks ago. Paul was the original Iron Maiden vocalist from 1978 to 1981. And to just talk about his life and his legacy, I'm joined by Iron Maiden associate and also the owner and manager of the Karma Sanctum Hotel in London, where we're recording Trust in Rock, Mark Fuller.
I've had the pleasure to know, befriend, friend, and work with Iron Maiden and the Iron Maiden family from probably 30 odd years. So that puts Paul before my time, because he quit or walked or was asked to politely leave or whatever you want to call it in 1981.
Yeah.
But obviously you never actually leave the Iron Maiden family, whether you're good, bad or indifferent. You know, Steve, Bruce, Nico, Adrian, Yannick and Davey always keep everybody really to their bosom, as does Rod and Andy and even the crew and everything. And so I didn't work with him, but of course I knew him. You know what? The band were very fond of him. He was formative and completely on point on the formation and the movement and the way forward for Iron Maiden at the time that he did. You know, some may say that, you know, him and Steve were absolutely the point, as indeed Bruce and Steve are now and everything else. But he was definitely part of the formative and the whole thing coming together. I don't think it's a secret with his challenges, his chemical challenges throughout the years, which I'm fairly aware were up until his dying day. But you know what? On the times that I knew him, he came to the hotel, did a few interviews, used to obviously come to a few gigs. You know, one of my jobs is to take care of all the backstage and everything else, and you know, so we always took care of him. The band, Iron Maiden, always supported him and his management and the bands that he was in, and a couple of the band members, well, certainly one of them is a good friend of mine that I've known a really long time as well. For all intents and purposes, he was a good lad, just had a few chemical challenges. But I think that, you know, yes, you never leave the Iron Maiden family. Yes, they always loved him. Yes, they've stated it on their website and everything, you know, and as part of the family, I'm aware that they've financially supported him and his family up to today. Whatever's needed, there's been no, you know, stone unturned, no withdrawal and everything else. But they've always been there for him, and you know, we're all going to miss him. Well, we are, and as you alluded to, he certainly was a larger-than-life character, and he lived life to the full. You know, in '81, pre-'81, when Maiden first formed and got going with the new wave of heavy metal and all that sort of stuff. You know, drugs and partying and everything else were really very much part of the rock and roll scene. We've all been there, done that, wrote the theme tune, sung the theme tune, and can write the book, you know, from pretty much every member of the rock fraternity for that era. And of course, it's very different now. It's a very professional business. Of course, there's still the heart, there's still the whole thing about metal and everything else. And, you know, that doesn't stray too far, but people have found that, you know, you can't carry on like that. Otherwise, as we know from the great late Ian Kilminster, now Paul Di'Anno, and several others. And many more. You'll end up dead. They'll line up. That was a good mention. 3 of my friends all in one, you know.
Do you have any kind of enduring memory of Paul?
Well, actually, the odd one is that in all the times that I've dealt with him, he was a complete gentleman. You know, all the hell raising and everything else was before my time. And I'm aware from third parties that he was a bit tricky, a bit hard to handle when he got on one. But then I suppose, you know, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword, quite literally. But, you know, every time I took care of him, every time he was around the band or around anything to do with Iron Maiden, complete, you know, you're thinking, really? You know, is that the guy that everybody says was completely out of control? You know, I don't think even at the end of the night I've seen him out of control, because he always respected the band as they did him.
He remained very popular with the fans over the decades. and he even performed from his wheelchair, which I think shows
Correct.
true dedication. What do you think his legacy will be?
His legacy will be, he will always be known as the first ever Iron Maiden vocalist, and the vocalist that got them on the map, that formulated the sound and everything else. I see that there's some other people sort of say, oh, well, you know, he was there, but, you know, obviously it moved on with Bruce and everything else. Well, everything moves on. You know, the Iron Maiden family and the Iron Maiden band, you know, looking at it from afar, hasn't changed too many members over the years. And I think if Paul hadn't have had the chemical challenges that that he had, he may well have been there. And who knows what goes on, you know. Bruce obviously carried on and shaped the band in a totally different way and everything, so things move on. You know, if you look at it now on their 50th anniversary tour that they're doing next year, you know, there's, you know, 3 members of the original lineup, you know, and Bruce doesn't come far after it, does he? I just think that the legacy is that it was an amazing era. It was that era of punk, you know, Motorhead were forming, the Sex Pistols were there, the Clash were there, Maiden were coming out, Saxon were coming out and everything else. And it was complete and utter chaos.
And good things came out of chaos.
And good things came out of it. So his legacy to the Iron Maiden fans was he was always the one that started it all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your memories.
You know, I hope his family, you know, he's resting in peace now. Some people, as I say, like Lem, like Phil Lynott and everything, and now Paul Di'Anio are looking down on us.
Yeah.
And doing that.
And they're probably having the most awesome party up
there. Oh, they're cracking on, that's for sure.
They are. Well, our sincere condolences to Paul, his family and friends, and all the fans who loved him. And if you've got any memories of Paul that you would like to share, please do write in the comments. We'd love to hear them. We'd love this little interview to be a real tribute to him, with fans sharing their memories as well as my guest Mark Fuller. But thanks so much, Mark.
You're very welcome. Let's hope I don't have to do too many more.
Well, quite. And also just to say thank you so much for allowing us to use the Karma Sanctum.
The Karma Sanctum's part of rock DNA, isn't it, really? Is. You know what I mean? Along with, you know, all the bands and all that sort of stuff that has stayed there. It's been here. Yeah. We're sitting next to some Marshall amps that somebody famous has used, you know. There you go, rock and roll.
Well, thank you for sharing your memories of Paul Di'Anio.